bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Can you imagine? It's Friday. It's the 7th of January. For some, it's a somber day. For others, it's a day to celebrate. Partly because it's the day it is, partly because it's a Friday. And they say, hey, look at that. 7 is a lucky number. It's the Friday. It's the new year. Well, DJ Lynn has again decided that he was happy to draw the short straw to be able to sit in the studio and do the good stuff with me. So we're going to celebrate together. We're going to invite you to share your thoughts. We're going to, mix it up. A couple of things that you've shared relative to our discussion yesterday with His Excellency that we want to relate to our listeners. And we invite you to be a part of today's discussion. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back and share with me if you wish. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Can I say informally, our good friends over at Flow reached out indirectly to say, hey, could you just share that sometimes, it's not intentional. It's just, it rains. We could have said, we had a little cold snap. I mean, this morning, it was kind of cold outside. Those of us who don't always keep our cars in the garage, went outside and found that there were, not necessarily snow and frost, but it's a bit of a dew on the cars. Took a while to warm up. Someone just jumped in the car and didn't even bother that. But hey, that's how it is. So phones are working, and we appreciate the immediate responsiveness, for the team over at Flow, and want to make sure they're up in order. So 949-8037. But hit the toll-free line because they pick up the tab for us. 1-800-534-8255. And share your thoughts. It could just be something you need addressed. It could be something else that you want to invite others to consider. We want to hear from you as we go into, Saturday and Sunday and then back to work again on Monday. Recognizing that there is a little, opportunity there for an interlude or two. So, a couple of things from yesterday's discussion that we want to reference. Certainly want to introduce again a comment by a few of our listeners who are looking at the scenarios as they unfold and maybe ask you to think about it. Well, 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255 or WhatsApp 925-3261. We'll do our very best to ensure that we share it. There is a WhatsApp that we started to read yesterday, and we will get to those today as well. But we go to the phones. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling. How are you today, sir?
Very blessed, very thankful, sir. How about yourself?
Well, I am blessed, thankful, and well-flavored.
All right.
But I'm calling the show today because I want to congratulate Radio Cayman for their work that they have been doing over the years, and I've been a faithful listener and a participant for over the years. Very good in every area, But yesterday's show came with, seems to me like, with very positive effects. Because I remember my good friend yesterday Miss Jan Thompson calling in, speaking to the governor, which the governor did, I believe, took action, you know. At least when you call him, he's always willing to talk to you and stuff, you know. And I heard on the news today that the lady had been arrested and is still in prison.
Well, police custody, right? Pending investigations, right?
Yeah. And what I'm saying, you know, Miss Thompson called and spoke directly to the governor, you know. So I want to congratulate Radio Cayman for that, and you as well, and the whole staff there, that you all have a blessed New Year, Mr. Connor, on the morning show as well.
Yes, sir.
And the late night, you know, I don't know if anybody really noticed it, but especially after the 6 o'clock news, when JJ the Iceman is on, he digs up some songs and some music that I used to play. Didn't remember. You know, I didn't remember, so I don't know where he got them from.
Well, thank you for acknowledging that. I must say that's right after the 7 p.m. news. He plays some songs for an hour. And
local music, and that's original. That's not computerized recordings, neither for the bands that we used to play.
Right,
we used to play live.
Well,
you know.
Thank you for acknowledging that, because, and I'm not saying this to disparage any station in this country or anywhere else, right? But like you say, it's live, and all of our on-air talent. We see it with Susan in the morning with her praise and worship, and just even ordinarily, we see it with Joel. You know, for the longest time now, having 1 hour of music every day, local music. We see it all of our team. But JJ has been doing that, and we go through our library here, and these guys pull out, they deliberately, my words, you know, orchestrate, choreograph, they produce deliberately music.
Yeah, I call him the night owl.
Yeah, there he is, man. You know, and
the night owl. Sometimes he goes up until midnight. Sometimes on weekends. You know.
Yeah, man. We have a very, very dedicated team of civil servants across all 3 islands, in our government services, whether they're statutory authorities or government-owned companies or core government, who probably, and I say this even though some would say civil servants get paid too much and whichever, who probably would make a whole lot more money, have a whole lot less stress and anxiety if they were working elsewhere. But they're here because they're committed to serving country, and this is one way that they believe they can make that, you know, most effective contribution. And I'm honored to say, you know, when I look at them, hey, I'm a civil servant in that sense, and thank you for recognizing the genuine commitment to the jobs.
Well, you know, I'm an ex-civil servant as well.
Yes, sir.
And you know, we got a beautiful island here. You know, it's not as what it used to be, but we blessed in Cayman Island. You know, with so much stuff that we really don't recognize.
But let me ask you.
Some people come here and they appreciate it. You know, and the other ones, some come with a vengeance to say, I'm going to destroy this.
Okay.
I'm going to destroy this.
But let me ask you, and I'm glad you referenced it, because I was going to ask you whether that's the case or not. Let's look within. There are those of us who probably fall in that category as well, whether we've been here for generation after generation or whether we've been here for decades. Why is it then that is allowed to continue? That seems to be, you know, that's them. You can't do that for them. That, you know, we make excuses for it instead of pulling people aside and showing them the error of their ways, showing them, inviting them to see the benefit of being more positive, the cost and consequence of continuing in that mindset, continuing down that path with that particular action. You know, we have to wonder, why is it that we're not doing better?
Well, Mr. Sterling, this is me. And when I talk, I always say I'm uneducated. But you know what caused that? I mean, we look on our neighbors to the south, to the east, to the west, and we look at them and say, oh, the violent people and stuff. But, you know, there's sometimes, even in the Bible, it tells you sometimes that we have to stand up and be firm. And what happened with us, we allow people to come here and use us and walk over us because we do not want to spoil our Christian image, of so much love and kindness that they take advantage of us. And that is why it is allowed. That's the question you ask. Why is it continue?
Well, perhaps.
That is why it's allowed to continue on, because we allow it, because we have so much love. You remember Samson and Delilah? You know how Samson got his eyes cut out with his word, if you love me.
But remember now, right?
Love me.
Perhaps it's like the scripture, we look like they did, as if they're giants in our own eyes, right? But maybe we are so begrudgeful for whatever reason. We can justify it. We can talk about, the historical context and being colonized people or this or that. But maybe we are now jealous of each other, and for whatever reason, we'd rather see others, whomever that may be, however we term that, succeed, get more, get a better house, get a better car, get a better job, get better pay, get to even go on vacation, whatever, right? Than our own. Now, until and unless we start to love ourselves and love each other, just to what you said, how do we expect to raise the bar? How do we expect to be the example? How do we expect to improve the safety, security, and stability of our society?
Mr. Sterling, the Bible has something called the Ten Commandments. In the first 5 tells us how to love God, and the other 5 tells us how to love our neighbor. How to love our neighbor.
Yeah.
And that is our problem, Mr. Sterling. We got too much love. You remember that song said, don't take my weakness for kindness or my kindness for your weakness or something like that? Well, that is what caused us to make people ride us and overtrust and use us.
Right.
But Mr. Sterling, I want to hear what somebody's got to say about it.
Likewise, man. Likewise too, sir. Enjoy your afternoon. And maybe the caller is right, but maybe I'll ask the question. He says maybe it's because we have too much love. What if we don't have enough for ourselves, for others? All right, we're going to pause and take the break. We're going to take the caller after. If you're able to hang on, if you want to pay for the call, just tell DJ and we'll call you back. So don't go away. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan is kicking off the new year with a new website to better serve our members and a new administrators as agent that will help fulfill our vision for your pension plan. Our website, chamberpension.ky, features improved web services like a real-time chat to help answer your questions quicker and audio tips to help you plan for your retirement savings arrangements. Our new provider, Saxon Administration Limited, will benefit members through enhanced systems and IT services, allowing for greater customer service experience. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
At Subway, we caramel a lot about our customers, so we decided to give you 2 treats in one with the new Caramel Apple Cookie. Enjoy cinnamon apples, caramel bits, and salted caramel crunch baked in, and topped with a drizzle of caramel-flavored icing. Gooey, crunchy, and yummy. Complete your Subway sandwich, pizza, or salad with the delicious Caramel Apple Cookie or any other cookie flavor and dessert, available for a limited time at all Subway locations. Subway, eat fresh.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Study local and go far this spring. Want to start your bachelor's or associate degree or just need a few classes to complete? Registration is now open for spring classes at UCCI. Scholarships are available for the spring semester, but you need to act now to meet the deadlines. Visit www.ucci.edu.ky to enroll now. Classes begin January 10th. Enroll by December 1st for a chance to win an iPad or a laptop.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us. And before we take the caller, just a quick WhatsApp. One message says, to Mr. George, thank you, and thanks to JJ, thanks to Radio Cayman too. So those kind of music that make your heart sings and let you feel so happy. So thank you, JJ. You should be JJ the fireman because the music are more than ice. Referencing the music he plays, after 7. If you haven't heard it, ask you to listen to the news at 7. Just stick on for a bit. And before we take the call, I was just thinking that to the caller prior comments relative to the governor, I guess His Excellency, and not endeavoring to speak for him or on his behalf, would probably say it's not his doing, it's the policing authorities doing what the policing will do when it's warranted relative to that arrest for indecent sort of exposure, as it were, on the lady. But it also begs the question, what prompted action though? Maybe enough is enough. Perhaps the public finally spoke out. Perhaps we were closing our eyes too long to too much. Anyway, let's go to the phones. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon, man. Good afternoon. Now, before you go further, and certainly don't want to put you off, I was asking you, how do you say Happy New Year again in Arabic? Man. But you're enjoying it, right?
Yes.
All right, good stuff, my friend.
When I have a serious complaint about Radio Cayman.
Well, go right ahead, man.
It's not just from me. It's from a lot of people in the general public.
Mm-hmm.
I receive about 3-4 calls also from people complaining that in the evening after 5 o'clock, when people coming from work, there is songs being played. It have a lot of dirty bad words, and these songs I did myself call the person who was, I call 1-800 number Radio Cayman, and there is a person who was there who put in the song. I talked to him days ago, and he promised to remove that song. Not just that song played, but more songs being played, a dirty bad word. And I don't think people are coming from work, they beckon their children, and they are with them in the 5 o'clock hour, and they going home. They don't want to hear such bad word. I think this is a government radio station, and I'm talking here to the management of Radio Cayman. It is shame to put such song. It is shame in the person who put these songs in there. This is a government radio. Shouldn't be playing such bad songs. And these songs, I think, need to be reviewed and monitored by the management of Radio Cayman. I know there is a good management. I'm not saying there is a bad management here, but maybe they don't notice. The general public did notice. I get 4 or 5 calls because they know I am a person who will not tolerate
They know that you were backwater for them, without question. Yeah. If I may ask you, and thank you for raising that, and perhaps, I know all of us here certainly endeavor to conduct ourselves, the music we play, to always be, uplifting, positive, to be respectful of our cultural norms, and certainly not intentionally play, say, or do anything that would be offensive. So for that, we publicly apologize. I don't think that that's a deliberate act, now something that would go unnoticed and not corrected. But let me ask of you, and again, only for it, you know how sometimes we hold our own to account, but we let others slip and slide, and they can do what they want. Do you think that we have that same level of expectation and are willing to hold other radio stations, other media houses to this account, to that same level of standard?
I think, Dwayne, this is, I listen to other radio stations, the same problem is there. And I think now the government needs to address this matter with all the radio stations, with the memo that you can't play bad songs, you can't play bad word songs. It should be a fine.
Yeah.
A fine if you do that. I know Radio Cayman is one of the best radios in Cayman.
We think so.
I know they have a good people working there.
Thank you.
I know if Miss Susan is there, she will not play such songs.
Well, let me just perhaps help you as I understand it, if I can share with you. And it is interesting how take calypsos, for instance, that sort of double meaning sometimes that we see in calypsos. We will take and recognize that the history of calypso allows us to speak to the social and cultural and political things that are sort of unfolding at the time, even historical things. And it's a way to communicate a message. So that double meaning is there without question. In this case, though, I think you're referring to a song called "The Stamp" and "Lick It," But I can share with you, without fair contradiction, it wasn't any intent to be derogatory or to be offensive. And sometimes, we automate things and without appreciating it, right? Our ability to leverage technology sometimes may get ahead of us. I do know definitively and categorically that particular song has now been removed from rotation within our system. But thank you for raising that, because that way we still see there's a level of expectation from our community as to what is expected of Radio Cayman. And I don't say this to offend any government from the perspective of political. This is my personal view. Radio Cayman is the community station. It's funded by taxpayer dollars. It's not a government radio station like you see in many jurisdictions where the government of the day, the political government, or the one that is the puppet of the puppeteers, becomes the mouthpiece in the propaganda machine. We're there to serve the interests of the country. But can I revisit that question I asked you? I asked you to repeat. Do you think we hold other private entities to the same standard that we expect of Radio Cayman?
I think still even that song being played or some songs being played in Radio Cayman.
Right.
Still Radio Cayman is the role model for all radio stations.
Exactly. We should be.
It's very professional. And I think Radio Cayman have a good management.
Right. But let me ask you, sorry to interject, and I'm going to press you for a bit, because you are one of those, thankfully, who has an opinion and willing to share it publicly. Do you think that same standard that we expect of Radio Cayman, of excellence, of propriety, and all the things, do we have that same expectation and will call other entities, radio, television, print, online, whatever media it is, to that same level of accountability that we expect of Radio Cayman?
Yes, of course.
You think so? Because I wonder about this. Take the advertising and promotion of alcohol and other stuff. We probably don't skirt the envelope or flout the law as openly as has been alleged by some entities over the years. Now, if that's advertising revenue being lost to us and we do it to abide by the law or the social consciousness, should not the same thing apply to other entities?
Yeah, I think, Dwayne, the other radio station need to watch what they are playing. Also, we have another issue connected to this. You go in a public bus
Right.
They are playing bad songs too, and this is not from the radio. Some of them, they hide this CD player in the bus, and that's tell you the bus system is not working for us. And this is the second subject important for me. I have to follow in because I will not stop speaking about those public drivers until this system being. I am consistent in speaking about the bus drivers' behavior. And yesterday, I give you example. I was in Countryside Village, bus stop front of Countryside Village. There is this elderly lady from East End. She told me she is 1.5 hour. It was about 6 o'clock, almost 6 o'clock. 1.5 hour. She's sitting there. Pass her 5 buses. Some of them East End buses. Some of them, the one have to go in Queens Highway and go to East End. None of them want to go to East End, and she sit there until I stop one of the drivers, and I force him to take that lady to East End, because if I told him you have 2 choices. I call Buddentown Police Station, or you take this lady with you, because she's sitting there 1.5 hour. I mean, and this, some of them playing the CDs, breaching, some preachers, they preach hate against Jewish religion, Muslim religion, and this written in the bus, Jesus Express. Why they using Jesus in public bus? I mean, Jesus is some great name. We have to respect that name and respect what we making the passengers here, preaching hate in the bus.
But let me ask, right? You referenced this and other things in the past, and you have, from what we gather and recall, you have brought this to the attention of the requisite authorities. To your mind, if you've done that, has there anything at all been done about it?
Yeah, I speak one time, the governor, if you remember, I speak with His Excellency in the radio.
Right.
And he promised to speak to Mr. Manderson, and we don't see nothing.
But that's what I'm saying. So to your mind, you've spoken to everybody, now even to His Excellency. But of course, those are operational matters. But so to your mind, nothing has come of it. The dress code, not following So what now? I mean, because that speaks. If as you allege, is that
I am not give up, Dwayne, in this issue. I think there is a lot of people are suffering from the bus system, especially in the Eastern District.
Okay.
Some people lose their job. I know one person loses his job because he can't find the bus to go to work, and I know that people are suffering from this, and this is gone beyond.
Right. So let me
can take.
Let me then ask, right? If the consequence of either nobody doing anything about what is seemingly an open and acknowledged genuine complaint, should we not then, as a public, say, wait a minute, this isn't going to continue, so the public and the sector of the public that uses that organize themselves and protest for one of them, demonstrate their displeasure at it, or B, the other operators in this industry, recognizing that there may be an advantage accruing to those who, skirt the law and offend the regulations and decide to cut corners, themselves sanctioning the offenders. So it's very much similar to, let's say you have a professional body that self-regulates itself, and recognizes that one of its own has done something that could bring the rest of the profession into some ill repute, some question. If they sit idly by and let it go on, we're going to point fingers at the whole sector and say, look at that, they're all one and the same. So if we're not willing to enforce it because we have the authority, if we're not willing to do anything about it because we are the paying customer, and you vote with our dollars, or are we who are in the sector willing to self-regulate, then what do we do?
Yeah, Dwayne, I am not saying all the drivers bad.
Not at all. No, you have not said that at all.
I think there is a good, reliable drivers.
Right.
I thank them for the service they doing. I take their buses every day when I go to work. I come back from work, and they are reliable. They never go say, I don't want go East End or I don't want go North Side. They are reliable, but there are certain names. I have the list of the names of the drivers. They are not going to East End or North Side. I have the list. Already, I'm ready to carry it to Mr. Manderson, to carry it to the governor.
But when are you going to do that?
Whenever they are want to respond to us.
No. But I mean, let me ask you, right? And we're not going to belabor it, but and I'll ask you this to ask you something else, right? So let's say that you've evaluated it based on your personal experience, based on the input from others, and you've collated a list, and you said these are the offenders. Why wait till tomorrow? I mean, make hay while the sun shines. Do it today. Do it now. But let me then ask, in flipping that coin over, that is your perspective, right? And with the greatest of respect to you, do you honestly believe that view of just Peter, James, or John, whomever the offenders are, is that a legitimate, genuine view, or is it just your view based on your personal perspective and personal experience?
No, Dwayne, a lot of people complain. A lot of people don't call the radio, yes.
Right.
They come and speak to me sometimes because they know I am a person who...
You'll backwater for him with a question. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I know people who live around me in North Side who suffering from this issue, and we think it's not fair for the general public, Dwayne, that this is continue. You remember there is buses, the shuttle buses, the one the government to West Bay and to in town.
Around town?
We need at least 2 buses of those to go, one East End and one North Side.
Okay.
And the government starts slowly take over the public bus system, both the drivers, reliable drivers, and I think the government should take back the public bus system completely and not allow the private sector to control.
But that's a separate perspective, right? I don't want to interject too much, but I do have to take a break. So do this then. If you genuinely believe that there's something that needs to be addressed and you have a list, share it with the requisite authorities. And sometimes, maybe something will happen then. And a quick final thoughts before we take the break.
Yeah, I want to say this. We have 2 things, our 3 things the government have to do. 1, remove the director of public bus transport. He is not reliable for this job. 2, remove the board because the board is not doing the right job. And the 3rd one, the government needs to take over the public bus system, and like in Jamaica, like in other countries, in the Bahamas, the government have a government bus system. It's reliable. We have coming soon. There is tourists coming, and we need reliable bus system to work in Cayman.
Right. So we have one more thing to do.
Last thing, Dwayne. Last thing. I need the public bus transport authority to tell some of these drivers, especially those same ones, they don't want to go North Side and East End, to look after their clean body, because some of them, it seems, from 1 year he don't shower.
All right. Well, so we have one more thing then to do. Number 5. You have a list. You're going to pass it on to all and sundry, from the deputy governor to the governor to everybody else, so that something can be done. You can say, I've collected a list, and here are the names, and let's get it dealt with, because you might find that if it's really been addressed, you may find there's nothing to address. Hey, thank you very, very much for at least being publicly willing to share your perspective. Let's pause now, take this break, and when we come back, more talk today.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
As we head into the new year, the team at Travel Cayman want to say a very special thank you to everyone in quarantine and isolation from the people of the Cayman Islands. They know how painful it can be to sacrifice the time with loved ones, especially over the holidays. The community is grateful for all that you are doing to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Thank you for stepping up in these tough times. The goal is to protect all those who are vulnerable. This may include faces you do not know, but also many that you know and love. Visit www.exploregov.ky/coronavirus to learn more about the resources available. To the persons in quarantine or isolation, the Travel Cayman team would like to wish you a happy and healthy new year.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us. And it's open line. It's a Friday. Let's do it together. Let's make it better because we're working it out together. Hey, listen, I won't try to sing, but not because, I don't have the courage. It's because, you know what? I love you too much to subject your ears on a Friday, to my banter like that. So let's hit this next caller. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hi, evening, that's Dwayne.
How you doing, man?
Good. Happy New Year to you and all the staff and everybody in Cayman Islands,
Happy New Year to you too, man. It's so happy we should sing a song together. How about that? You sing and I listen.
Yeah, well, my year never started out too happy, because when you talk the truth,
yeah,
you get locked up, and then you get the hate crime coming on to you.
Yeah.
What would like to say before I go on and a little further into the program?
Mm-hmm.
On Monday the 3rd of this year here,
Monday,
the 3rd of the new year, I went to Carlisle having some drinks down there,
Mm-hmm.
And I love my liquor too much, and when I get enough in, I leave my vehicle.
Mm.
So I left my vehicle down at the Carlisle, got a ride up with some of my friends,
mm-hmm.
and when I went to choose the morning to look for my vehicle, all two of my tires were stabbed with a knife, 2 tires.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somebody willfully just stabbed my tires. I mean, that is a hate crime, and that's how cupboards operate. But anyhow, I would like to say this right now over the air,
mm-hmm.
that I have a good idea who done it. The whole island have a good idea. I mean, we all show that. But I would like at this time that anybody is willing, able, and want to tell the truth and stop this foolishness. I am willing to pay them $5,000 to give a statement to the police. 5,000 CI dollars. I, Elvis Jeffrey McKeever, will give you that once you go to the police and give them a statement. I will give you the $5,000 in front of the police. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, when we get back that I called in that I asked about, because this is what and I'm not stop asking this question. The lady came here and she was positive, coming from Jamaica, and she almost got through the system. But one of our young officers then came on, found out and seen a paper that she was positive.
Mm-hmm.
And for the love of God, I can't find out what is this woman going to be charged for. I asked a police officer, what is she be charged for? So probably not charged for nothing, like it's some sort of a joke, you know. I mean, listen, when you're dealing with something that's killing people and shutting down economies all over the world, because you see Cayman now dying from the corona, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we got that established. All right. It's spreading like wildfire. Now, I was doing a lot of reading, and Air Canada is suspended flights from Cayman, Cuba, and 2 other Caribbean countries there. And you know what they said? They're not bringing in their people because they don't want them to be there stranded.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in my little pea brain, I take that to believe that the country that they're stopping might shut down and their people got to be stranded there. Don't it sound like that to you?
It sounds like, at least outwardly, that could be their thinking and justification. We never know what is behind the scenes, Yeah.
Well, let's not go about behind the scenes business.
Mm.
This is on the world news.
Right. No. Exactly as to what was said. Right.
Remember, years ago, we wasn't part of the world, but we part of the world now. It said the Cayman Islands.
Mm-hmm.
And BBC and all that. I mean, I didn't dream this,
No. It's in the international news. You're right. Yeah.
Okay. And the air travel. Mm. And they said because their passengers might get stranded.
Mm-hmm.
And only how your people can get stranded if our government or the Cuban government or whatever government say, lock down, boom, no one in, no one out.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Right.
And the reason that they say that they're not coming here is because they are scared of the people catching corona in the Cayman Islands and taking it back to Canada. Oh, you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
And now this is real, And the part about it, what really hurts me is the people that bring in the corona here, they come in here to make a living. It wouldn't be so bad if the people that were bringing it were spending money. Well, at least the government could get something to pay for the testing or the hospital, whatever it costs the Cayman Island government, or we the people of the Cayman government, of the Cayman Islands.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the people scared to come here. No,
right.
Because when you got a population of 60,000 70,000 people, and you testing out, you getting 500 positive in one or 2 days. Let me tell you something. I can do a little bit of mathematics. That's a pretty good percentage, eh?
Mm-hmm. If you have time, right? I mean, you can stay on. We can talk after the news. But would you, if you don't mind me publicly asking you, I don't have your phone number anymore. Would you give it off here to my friend there so I can give you a shout on something?
Yeah, but look, I don't get my original phone number, but I can get it right now.
Go ahead, man.
And the number I got now is 928 3635. But I going to get back. I going to get back my 916 1377 because the police got my phone, but I found out that I could get my number back, so I'll be getting my number back hopefully this evening.
Okay, perfectly.
But like I say, if what I'm gonna say, repeat it one more time.
Mm-hmm.
My tires were slashed down by the Carlisle on Monday night, and anyone that is willing to give a statement to the police of who it is, 'cause I know people seen it. Certain people were there, they're there, you know. Whatever people say, you can put two and two together. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Two and two together. You know the saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's $5,000, and I am a man to my word.
Mm-hmm.
It's $5,000 for the information leading up to the arrest. It's a hate crime. You got to stop hating your own people.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
You're most welcome, sir. We'll talk again, all right? And you know, whenever we see something happening in our society like that, or like anything that is offense, maybe it would be good to have the confidence in the police and to be a good corporate citizen, to be a good individual citizen, and share, you know, knowledge so that injustices, you know, don't continue. We'll pause though, hit the news, we'll come back, more Talk Today.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Government reported 466 additional cases of COVID-19 on Thursday, 10 of those in the Sister Islands. This brings the total number of active cases to 3,372. There have been 89 confirmed cases of the Omicron variant in the Cayman Islands. The number of suspected cases has reached 802. In addition, 4 COVID-19 patients were hospitalized in the Cayman Islands as at midnight on Thursday. There was 1 new admission. In international news, Kazakhstan's president authorized security forces on Friday to shoot to kill those participating in unrest, opening the door for a dramatic escalation in a crackdown on anti-government protests that have turned violent. The Central Asian nation this week experienced its worst street protests since gaining independence, and dozens have been killed in the unrest. The demonstrations began over a near doubling of prices for a type of vehicle fuel, but quickly spread across the country, reflecting wider discontent with authoritarian rule. The Supreme Court began hearing arguments Friday on major Biden administration efforts to bump up the nation's vaccination rate against COVID-19 at a time of spiking coronavirus cases because of the Omicron variant. The justices on the conservative-oriented court are taking up the questions of whether to allow the administration to enforce a vaccine or testing requirement that applies to large employers and a separate vaccine mandate for most healthcare workers. The arguments were expected to last at least 2 hours. Those are your latest headlines. I'm Shana Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us as we look at a couple of WhatsApps that we want to share with our listeners. We invite you to be a part of a discussion here on this open line segment. 949-8037, 949-8037, 949-6990. Again, we really appreciate the immediate responsiveness of our team over at Flow for the little hiccup yesterday and causing some of us to not be able to get through as we dial. And all fixed and resolved today. Won't happen again for the rest of the year. So you shout us on their toll-free line, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261 and let us know what you're thinking. Well, here's some comment or two that was shared earlier that we want to relay. As you share with us, we share with you. Says on the topic of covenants. Now, yesterday when we were speaking about covenants and development and planning and use of land, and had a number of very, very constructive comments from some of our listeners, and maybe something that we consider going forward, especially given the challenges of home ownership, cost of land, not just the cost of living, cost of construction, the ability to get the materials and the labor to do it even when you can, the planning process and all those things. So, but on the topic of covenants on land and subdivisions, Says, until about 2 years ago, I owned a house in a development. That said, no businesses are allowed to operate from the house. But with the way the world is now, it is possible to operate a multi-million-dollar business from anywhere, including that location, residential or otherwise, without the neighbors even knowing about it happening. And I share that because remember, we have this global concierge program, for one. We also have many of us working from home for different reasons, and some of us perhaps operating our own businesses, maybe offer bedrooms, a dedicated space at our dining table, perhaps even within the house, converted room. Maybe we even remodel it to put in a space. It may not be that we have any employees in there, whether they're our spouses or siblings or offspring. It may just be us, but we are working there. Now, would that constitute it? I think the intent sometimes, the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law, is that you have a business, you operate it from there. But given the way it is, and besides that, like this listener shared, the person has decided for whatever reason to manage the business affairs, whether it's a business operating within this country or whether it's operating in a region or it's a global multi-million-dollar business, operating from a remote location within the person's home, as opposed to being on site. Saves on rent, maybe saves on the negative sort of contribution and impact on the environment. It may allow the person to manage the time that much better. All sorts of reasons. So just like how we can operate businesses, nobody's talking about manufacturing, but maybe to some extent that may happen in our homes as well, whether it's things that are not necessarily, emitting obnoxious fumes and, with the smelting or other, manufacturing process. It could even not even be as much as a kiln where a person is firing up a piece of ceramic. But should we not look at a piece of land and say, on this land, we could build 2 houses. We don't need to necessarily call it a duplex. Or we could build, a house or 4, and whatever terminology we call it. Now, too many of us will turn our noses up at that, but not appreciate the economies of scale, the need to use what are, in essence, very valuable, scarce, limited resources. We may live in Australia or Texas and find that there's a lot of undeveloped land, really good land, arable land, productive land. Or we could be in Cayman, where we say, there's only a few acres, and only some of that is high and dry. So how are we using it? Are we willing to give the developer, the foreign investor, ability to build 5, 10, 50 stories, but the Caymanian landowner who wants to build a house and maybe a little space for extended family or even a little rental, we give them all sorts of grief? Let's take this caller. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon to you, Sterling Green.
And to you, sir. Blessed good afternoon.
Yes. I just early on to a couple of your calls here, and I'd just like to say one thing. They talk about being, perfect or getting perfection out of a job or perfection out of people. My sure on earth here, that will never happen. Know that. The best you can do is do your very best.
Right.
Right, because there are many things that we'll say where we can do it perfectly so and so. No, it all depends on situations. They take something like mathematics and so forth. The mathematics you might use to do some atomic or nuclear physics and so forth, you wouldn't need that type of mathematics in your daily life, where you'd be using more simple Newtonian mathematics as we know it, and not even going to complex things, but still you'd be able to complete your job very, very well. But even the scientists using those complex mathematics often runs into errors, and so did Einstein, so did many others. And there are some better mathematicians than Einstein also, but he was a complete scientist with his theoretical physics, theoretical scientist. He was a genius at that, and there were others before and after him. the thing with the buses and so forth, we've long had this problem, and we can solve that, but it takes, like I always say, that word courage.
Mm-hmm.
But, 23, 24,000 voters now on the electors list.
Mm-hmm.
We can't run the country with getting opinions from them. It would take forever. And that would change by each election and so forth. That's why we have elections, to choose one person to represent a group, and then there's one person who will be made a minister of that particular subject that we might have arguments over, or we might need to solve.
Right. Can I invite... sorry, if you would, can I invite maybe, because, and I say this, I hope not just you, but you in particular, but people would appreciate that this is absolutely an attempt to learn from you and to not just be respectful, but to learn.
I'm not teaching anything.
No, you do, sir.
Give me an opinion.
Yeah, but let me ask, right, because you are right, we need to be careful that we don't constantly try to manage by consensus. You're right, we need to have courage as the leader, whether it's the parent or whether it's the coach, whether it's the politician, right? But let me ask then, do we now need to reconsider either how we elect people and how we govern? So, for instance, instead of what you share and some of us want, every minute that there's a decision to be made, we go poll the audience and we do a referendum or something.
I don't believe in polls. Referendum is very last minute.
Exactly. So what if we did something instead? What if we said the districts that we have come to know as the traditional districts, not the political sort of divided districts that we have now, but the districts that we have. What if we created some sort of, let's use district council, but even a better word, some sort of management and authority sort of within each district that helps that district to manage its affairs, not to create any level of added bureaucracy, but to be able to have greater accessibility and responsiveness to some issue. So if, for instance, let's just use West Bay, a development is being proposed for West Bay, it's a hotel, it's a large housing subdivision, that the West Bay Planning Authority, for argument's sake, looks at that, make sure that it follows the national laws and has some level of thing, and it's decided upon. Now, if it's a larger project that could impact the rest of the country, maybe that's divided. Would you think that having some sort of district manager, district commissioner for each district, would that work better, you think?
Sterling Green, we have set out in the Constitution the Parliament for our district councils,
right?
They're advisory.
Mm-hmm.
The minister for that particular subject is where the buck stops, as Harry S. Truman used to say.
Right.
President Truman. And this is the whole thing. We can have that. I've always believed in localized government.
Right.
You have it in all the other former British colonies, and even in some that are still British colonies. You have a type of localized government. It sounds to me as if that's more what you're talking about, because the district councils would have to be for each electoral district, as I'm reading it, according to who is elected, so forth. So I may have a problem there in such a small country with 19 councils. Maybe do it as you say, but then it would have to be done. Some form of politics would have to become involved in
Always.
that. Always. And so, it's perennial.
Yeah.
Politics is. But what I'm saying is this. The buses use the government's road. Businesses like a supermarket, they serve the public also, or they wouldn't make any money.
Right.
But the whole thing is they're using their own private land, so their decisions are not governed by government. But with persons using the government road to make their money, there should be some sort of government regulation and government buying, and not should be, there must be. I put it must.
Must.
And this is it. And therefore, the minister would have the final say, and it can be done. What I do think is this, that the Minister for Transport, just my humble opinion, should not be the same thing as the Minister for Tourism. I don't think so. I've never thought so. I thought it would more come under the person who's in charge of roads and works and so forth. And then I would take that particular thing away from the Minister of Education, which is a very full ministry, and leave them with that very heavy load, just like the health and so forth to carry. But I do think that is the solution, that it comes under the minister, and the minister can make the decision, because there's enough talk about it now to say that enough opinion has been there that someone shouldn't have to wait an hour and a half for a bus that's supposed to be serving the public, as the gentleman was saying.
Right.
That is unacceptable. So that can be corrected with courage. But as far as the councils are concerned, it's possible to do those things, but then again, you're going to get the disagreements politically, and will they arrive at any solution there and carry it to the minister or carry it to the elected representative with parliamentarian? I do believe it would take a very long time. In a small country like this, it's simply that this enough talk about it has been made on this great radio station where those wonderful staff members do the very best, almost to perfection, and that would be like a 9 in my book.
Wow.
That they can hear and they know and say, let's deal with it to their chief of staff or chief officer,
right,
whatever, and then the person acts on it and say, yes, let's do this. We can form all kinds of commissions, and we can have all kinds of meetings, and just like my cousin, the former MP, underneath and all, said, let's stop pussyfooting around and let's do something. Let's get it done.
Get it done.
Action, action. Enough talk. As a wonderful little West girl said when she was running, enough talk. Let's get things done.
Yeah, man.
Have a wonderful day. We have a great little country. We can make the best of it if we have the courage to do what needs to be done. And
yes, sir.
Stop talk.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. As the caller says, just get her done. All right. I'm going to pause, take the break, and return to our callers. Stay on the line.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
As fate would have it, the early educational efforts of the islands were fostered on occasion by the arrival of shipwrecked seamen. The Sister Islands were no different, with the wreck of a mariner named Johnson, whose ship wrecked on Cayman Brac in 1863. Johnson would start a school which serviced not only children but adults too. In 1881, Jamaican Henry Hewitt set up the private school in State Bay, charging 9 pence per week. As education pursuits grew, it would be the Baptist Church which would lead the charge, given the growth of their congregations in the Sister Islands. Between 1896 and 1906, a large schoolhouse would be built in the chapel at the creek, along with State Bay and Little Cayman.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
As we head into the new year, the team at Travel Cayman want to say a very special thank you to everyone in quarantine and isolation from the people of the Cayman Islands. They know how painful it can be to sacrifice the time with loved ones, especially over the holidays. The community is grateful for all that you are doing to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Thank you for stepping up in these tough times. The goal is to protect all those who are vulnerable. This may include faces you do not know, but also many that you know and love. Visit www.exploregov.ky/coronavirus to learn more about the resources available. To the persons in quarantine or isolation, the Travel Cayman team would like to wish you a happy and healthy new year.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. It is open line, and we got a couple of callers in the queue. Hey, welcome. Thank you for calling. Hey, what's happening, man?
Good afternoon, Rambo speaking.
Good afternoon, Rambo. How's it going?
Making smooth, man. Finish my weekend, get off my chest. Making smooth New Year. We'll leave on that.
There you go, bro.
I'm on the call early on, the Brockton service.
Right.
Some vandalism went on, right? And obviously, it seemed like a premeditated act and a plot, right? Diabolical. Now it is, see? But I talk about my laundry now. My laundry now. You see, apparently, I got tattoo done on my arm, my forearm, right?
Mm-hmm.
At Tampa Bay. So I feel remember God.
Mm-hmm.
And people make credence, my sources know. I spent $1,000 on some audio. It was stolen, now not read, for provocation. But I bridge in the water. Right? You mature dealer. You understand? And I wanted to, so hit the point now. Go to the opposite and contrary diametrically her topic. Yes, with the governor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The previous caller called me yesterday before me. Talk about Chile. Right?
Mm-hmm.
With the interdictions and tactics based on money. Right? When the resources of it. You understand? So,
right.
I guess tell myself radical optimism, pessimism, the whole triangle. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, the politicians, like, for years, they be dodging this topic, right? They call it taboo, I call it diaphragm, reality. Everybody have it done? Next year, right?
Okay.
So, I hope, I think you last I call you, right? I'm requesting, I know they're debating the budget, right? Before the parliament is off. Because that petty thing, they have things petty, right? That are minor. They can be like, not even them enough, but others, etc. Like, that minor, the whole, like, certain 160, 170 the world, going forward towards it. Right? Okay, man, we can be like, and listen, enough for everyone, I can say, enough for everyone.
Right.
Alcohol, the more dangerous thing. I know alcohol, I have a more dangerous thing, believable. Right? And we know you go, alcohol, dangerous thing. Your reaction, your pain, cirrhosis liver, right? Pancreatic problems, it goes. So, but I have to get in the free up selling. And listen, it's a new year, and I hope when they gather in the Parliament, get the solution started out. Because all people.
Let me ask you.
Yes, they go through something.
Yes.
Go ahead.
You go ahead if you finish. If not, I want to ask you. Many have shared here and other places that you can decriminalize it, but you shouldn't legalize it. Some believe it's the one and the same, and they're just semantics, and some realize that there's a significant difference. And there are a few, including the legal scholars, who said, well, it's really not any major significance. From your perspective, should it be decriminalized or should it be legalized?
Hear my point of view or aspect of it, no.
Right.
Me personally, legalize fully. But listen, you call if you're walking now.
Right.
But here taking gain now. Being decriminalized now, they penalize you if you have X amount of gross weight.
Right.
Or X amount of crops.
Okay.
You go out the system. Like I told I told you time and time last year, I spent 1,050. After my tattoo done Tampa,
right.
I spent 1,050 for a draw. One here.
But let me ask you, right? With that in mind, if you were to legalize it, right? What does that mean to you? What's the difference in your mind between, you say go fully, so legalize it, not decriminalize. What does legalize mean to you?
Like, me personally, like, if it legalize, if I marry tomorrow, I shot a wedding, who my wife is, right? Say marry tomorrow, right? Whoever she is, right? And the force and does just smoke ganja and marijuana,
right?
Obviously, right? But the point I make, no, we legalize now. It's up to the individual to moderate, right? Moderate it, do it responsible. You understand? It's up to the individual. Place like Portugal, in Oregon, they legalize narcotics. It's up to the individual. It's who we have, who we help.
But let me ask then, right? If we say you can possess, and this is possibly I need to understand it better, but let's just use it in terms of, candies. You can get 4 candies of this, and that's okay. But if you have 5 or more, then it's not okay. There's a fine, there's a punishment. So if you legalize it, couldn't you make it legal to say that you have so much, whatever the quantity is of it, you can maybe grow it, maybe you can, whatever it is, and it's okay up to this amount in this way? Couldn't it be legalized in that, whether it's does it matter? I mean, am I not understanding the industry sufficiently to know how that works?
This industry, right, is gaining 11 a minute, 6 seconds a minute, it gaining, right? So
okay.
The whole point is telling the whole bunch of now. You see, last year, Mark Levinson, I campaign for election, a beautiful campaign, right?
Right,
and
right, okay.
The whole team of it, TEHEME, the whole team of it was that in Lord Record Casino, whatever, right?
Right.
The whole bit that going to the health, education, and beautification, infrastructure. You understand? That again a bit now.
Right.
Like, no more advocating about who smoke weed or pothead or alcoholic. None of that.
Because as you're sharing, right, I'm just asking mainly from the medicinal, the quality control aspect, the concern that many have expressed, physicians included, that we need to be mindful of what we bring into the shores that's not laced with formaldehyde, for instance, or other things for whatever reasons, to evade detection, to preserve the shelf life, to add a certain value to it, whatever the case is, right? So if a person is able to grow an organic plant, the cassava, the pumpkin, and bring it to the table, could you and should you not be, if you're going to be allowed to consume it, grow? Again, I don't know how much you need to grow in order to yield a sufficient quantity, but I'm sure we should know that, to also grow it for personal consumption, if that is what we're saying is going to be under the law accepted. 1 plant, 10 plants, as opposed to 5 acres or 50 acres.
Just telling it, wherever the ratio is, but you got benefit everyone, especially Caymanians, right? Time and time again. Because the Caymanians, we're all worse enemy. You understand?
Yeah.
People are lives observing. You understand? But I understand, but now go that it doesn't late now. You knock up the guilt.
Yeah.
So, like I say in studies earlier on, like I say, crop your walk,
Yeah.
Like I will go for legalized now, but you can't please the border. Yes, the governor say, but corporation and money making. Hell, no money making it benefit the border, but
yeah. But I
the common office say FCO, right? So I can't go with him with that.
I'm gonna listen to what you say. I'm trying to be respectful of one, not only His Excellence in the office he holds and what others who are more knowledgeable would know about international laws and conventions and expectations. And I also recognize that, honestly, this is probably one subject that I've read little, if anything at all, on it. I'm only learning words like sativa and indica recent. I still don't quite sure I understand what does one, what does the other. But if we're thinking of quality control of something, if we're thinking of having an available supply, again, from physicians' perspective, that said that is the CBD, I think that's the word, not the THC, the CBD, sometimes just procuring that, just getting that to our shores for them to legally dispense to their patients for whatever it is that they're treating for, that becomes an issue. Not only is it costly, but actually getting it. So why not have, a farm, a production facility here to produce it? We're talking about growing tomatoes and other similar, items. Why not have this? I mean, maybe there are other things that are more important in terms of its consequence, but we can genetically engineer things. Should we not consider it? Is there not an aspect to growing the economy, no pun intended, if we look at it in a much more complete approach as opposed to this piecemeal? you got to crawl before you walk. But how many times we have jumped blindly into something that turned out to be absolutely stupid when maybe we have an example before us that could be more beneficial.
So the whole 9 yards, right? You know about consequences and repercussion, right? I'm an advocate for Herb, right? I competent with that, and confidence with that, confidence with that. But it also when the officer were on after 2 years ago, OT show, one for East and one for Born Down, right? In Savannah, right? 3 or more on. I tell them full security, that important, urgently, and I point out the Herbs to have a ticket,
right?
But the point you make, Sterling, it got benefit everyone, full security, especially, right? Leap here on the corner, hello, you can't go without. But the point you make, Sterling, you got benefit everyone, beneficial. The whole 9 yards, no more left in the west side. Please, right? No bother.
You're right.
Different. You know what I'm saying? So like I say, you don't jump in a booby trap or over hurdles. You crawl, you walk carefully. Right? You understand? You cross your eyes, you dot your teeth, you be calmer, whatever, grammar.
Right.
So like I say, it's a sad story, but boy, came on, one day wake up, believe me. But it's a New Year, Sterling, came on blessed. And we're fortunate and lucky. Sterling, we did it better. And look at, before you go, get the entrepreneur from there, and the psychiatrist and the lawyer, get them back then.
Yeah.
Have a better discussion.
We will, man. We will. All right.
Time, man.
Talk to you again, man. Blessings to you. Enjoy the weekend. And we'll pause now for that other break. Come back and continue our callers. Please stay tuned.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
20 years.
Remember when Crew Road had no median and Linford Pearson was only 2 lanes?
We do.
When Dirty Reeds was down the street?
We do.
We have been there for the falls, the growth, and the rise. When your body and mind needed to change, Powerhouse Gym has been here. We've skated with you. Your first date, your daughter's first time on skates, your son's first strike. From football to squash, to karate and hockey, to bowling and concerts, and everything in between.
For 20 years,
so much has changed, some for the good and some not so much. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman.
King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
The record. For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM for Cayman's Straight Talk Morning Show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record.
Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
Let's keep working together to protect our community. By practicing social distancing, by wearing a mask, by washing our hands or using hand sanitizer, and by getting your booster. These simple actions save lives. Let's keep working together. For more information on COVID-19, visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome, and thank you so much for calling us and joining the discussion. And thanks too to our callers who are on hold. We not only appreciate you calling, but for your patience and persistence. And we thank you again for being a part of today. So good afternoon, welcome, and thanks for calling.
Hi, Dwayne, Sterling. This is Catherine Tyson. How are you?
Hi, Miss Catherine Tyson. This is Sterling Dwayne. How are you?
I'm good. Just calling because I just wanted to let you know, I don't know if you had let your listeners know about the Saving Christmas Island musical this was tomorrow. Basically, it was planned for, but there's been cancellation because there were some technical issues with the theater, so it's postponed for next week. So everybody has an extra week to get their tickets. I just wanted to let people know that and let your listeners know.
Okay, great. So it's next Saturday night?
Right. Same thing. So if they go online to get their tickets at rumrunners.ky, or just look for us on Facebook or Christmas_musical_ky on Instagram, then they'll see the opportunity to purchase will not be for the 8th, it will be for the 15th instead.
Okay, and it's still 7 p.m. at the Harkwell.
Still 7 p.m. at the Harkwell.
Okay, well, we're happy to remind people, because I know many are excited. Maybe by then regulations will be changed and we'll be able to have a larger capacity, but small steps. Never know, right?
Yeah, we're fine with what it was anyway, because it just feels safer, that kind of thing.
Of course.
So it's fine if it doesn't go up, but we're very disappointed because we're looking forward to getting our performers on stage, and they're ready to go. We've got Belle and Beast and Jasmine and Mrs. Potts and Chip and Rapunzel and Moana. We got everybody ready to go. And as life would have it, these things happen. So.
Mother always says, not every disappointment is a misfortune. So next Saturday, maybe give some of us extra time to do our hair, buy your outfit, and get ready to be there come next Saturday, 7 p.m. at the Harkwell.
Yeah, or bring some more people. Well, my granny used to say, every disappointment is an appointment.
I like that one.
There you go.
There you go. Well, we'll remind our listeners, and hopefully even into the week next week, that they can still get it. Because as you shared with us on Wednesday, not just the production from the director to the writing and the like, but the cast, so phenomenal. Being able to showcase the talents that we have here, a production like that is something that you would see on Broadway in other of the larger metropolitan areas, being produced right here, performed right here, and the sets designed and built right here using the materials that we have right here at this time. So commend you for it.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. We've had some people commenting, you guys had snow in Cayman. Like, come on, they've just been over the moon about it. And, we have Lloyd Barker. We have people like Lloyd Barker, for goodness sake. We have, Sammy Ogaro. We have,
Miss Martinez.
Sidani Barrett. We have Kimberly Carlos. I mean, listen, we have an absolute stellar cast. Jesse Soares, we have Richard Tess. You don't want to miss it. You just don't want to miss it. That's my point.
Perfect.
The singing is amazing. And you have Moana, who is Caitlin Tyson.
There you go. Well, it's next Saturday night, so we'll remind our listeners, all right?
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful weekend. All right, so that's next Saturday. We'll remind you, and you can still get your tickets. Let's take the other caller. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hello, Dwayne.
Hey, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, Dwayne. Bruce Mamba here. I've been listening to the various topics, and it's always good, Dwayne, when people ask questions, you do follow up, and I want to commend you for following up with in your interview with the governor yesterday. And I watched most of it, and I think you asked him about the judiciary again, and he smiled and tried to give his justification. But I just want to push back on him in terms of what he said. I think he was again being very hypocritical, because I know when you asked him about essentially about the Judicial and Legal Services Commission and supervision of judges and complaints and so on, he said, well, the particular case, which I imagine was my case, it has been thoroughly investigated. Now, first of all, I just want to correct the public record that is not true. Okay? This governor, when I first brought this matter to court, I might have read this to you. It's about 26 lines long. I can read it to you. When I first brought this action against this judge, and I outlined my comments,
right,
my complaints, together with my documents in an affidavit which is sworn. This is what he said, and I want to read it. He said, he and the Attorney General, in a joint filing of the court, they said, the respondents, meaning the two of them, further note with considerable concern the content of the applicant's evidence and the applicant submitted by way of an affidavit sworn on 10 November 2019. His evidence appears to raise significant allegations which should be tested by way of cross-examination and with reference to relevant documents provided by way of disclosure. Okay? And then he said, while it is possible for the Court of Appeal to hear evidence, the initial testing of evidence is generally carried out by the Grand Court, which has extensive rules in place to deal with the same, unquote. That's what the Governor and the Attorney General said in a formal, signed and filed court document. Now, if you were to ask the Governor, has there ever been an inquiry of this kind with cross-examination with a full hearing? There has never been one. He has never held one. The court has never held one. The Judicial and Legal Service has never held one. The Chief Justice has never held one. So when he's saying it was thoroughly investigated, what is he talking about? That is point number one. Point number two, having said this, when I filed the complaint now in the Grand Court, which is what he said, let it go to the Grand Court for a full hearing. When I filed it there, what did the Governor and Attorney General do? They went there, they said, strike it out. It's got no merit whatsoever. Don't even hear it. But what changed from the time when they read it and they said these are serious allegations in an affidavit, in documents, what changed for them to say it is frivolous? But more than that, they said it is not only frivolous, but we want a special order to prevent this person from bringing any action relating to this matter again. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't make sense. Actually, it is totally asinine. In law, as in common sense, what we do is that if you find somebody changes their view, you look for an explanation. What is the explanation? Sometimes the explanation is, having looked at the allegations at a preliminary level, we found that the documents were false, or he was telling a lie, and so on. Nothing like that has happened here. In my view, it was purely politics. Let me tell you another thing, Dwayne. In this matter, I've filed extensive affidavits to swear to things and giving documents. And yet, the judiciary, not one person from the judiciary, the 4 support staff who are named, none of them has filed any affidavit to say Mr. Simamba is lying regarding this and that. They have not done that. The only one who mentioned something to the lawyer in the Attorney General's chambers, and the Attorney General said, all she said was that she was just doing what she was told. If somebody who is supposed to support you as a judge says, I was only doing what I was told, doesn't that amount to an admission that she knows the judge is lying and I'm telling the truth? Of course, that's the only reasonable inference you can draw.
Well, perhaps, but you could also, there are those of us who are not at that level of seniority and may feel that either to speak out would be disrespectful or could compromise future promotions or look favorable at other opportunities or even lead to dismissal and maybe just go along, my boss told me to do this, so I'm doing it. Not necessarily that they have an opinion or agree or disagree. They just don't have that level of standing to take that position.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very important observation, Dwayne, in the sense that very often they are afraid to do certain things because it may affect them in that way. But the point I have made in relation to this is
fair enough.
If I say that this happened and the judge is lying, don't you think that if the judge is telling the truth, the person who works under him would be prepared to say, yes, Mr. Simamba is lying, the judge is telling the truth. I think they will be more prepared to do that because that even secures their position even more.
Fair enough.
Because they have nothing to benefit from me. So when they say they were just doing what they are told, it is an implicit admission that they don't want to swear an affidavit because then they have a choice between telling a lie, which can have consequences, or if they tell the truth, which would be in support of me, then it raises the issue that you mentioned. Now,
right.
The governor also mentioned when he talked to him, he said, "Oh, but you see, with me, I can only be involved in case something is serious." But again, his conception of serious is very troubling. You know, with judges, it is a very sensitive job, and judges have lost their jobs in just for telling one lie. I'll give you an example of Lord Wolfe. I might have mentioned this to you before, maybe to Ossie. Lord Wolfe in England was a judge who sat on the Augusto Pinochet case. He sat on that court, and he didn't reveal to his colleagues that actually his wife was an activist within Amnesty, which was a party in that case. And, you know, there was nothing which showed like he was biased or conducted himself in a bad way. But his own colleagues on the House of Lords, now the Supreme Court, said, you can't sit with us without telling us this. And the whole thing became a public scandal. He was forced to resign. He didn't misconduct himself or lie. He just didn't mention it. There's also a case of a judge in Canada who was involved in an advocacy group, a black judge. And he went to see a minister of immigration to lobby on the part of a certain youth in a case which did not involve him like in his official capacity. But when he was asked if he had gone to see the minister, he swore an affidavit to say that he had never seen the minister. It turned out that he had seen the minister. They brought him before the Judicial Council, and even the hearing was streamed live, and we were able to listen to it. Another Florida judge who lied in a divorce petition was dismissed because they said even if it's a private matter, once you lie on oath, you lose all authority. So when the governor is saying, "Oh, but this is not serious," of course it is serious. This is a judge who I've proved that he told lies on 4 issues. Ian Kawai told lies of 4 issues. I've proved the documents are there, and I can even prove it further if we can go to the Grand Court and pull out the Zoom hearings and all those things. So to me, this is unreasonable. I hope that the Court of Appeal, when they hear the matter, they will be able to make some recommendations. By the way, I have appealed the matter. I was not successful when it went before a single judge of the Court of Appeal, but the procedure is that if you are not successful there, you can bring it to the full court to ask for leave to appeal. So I've filed those documents, and now we are trying to work to see if the matter can be heard in the summer of this year. And to see if we can take it forward. Now, one last thing, Dwayne. You see, judges, we must respect them in society. But they must understand that once confidence is lost, it is very difficult for their decisions to be respected. That's why they always talk about justice and the appearance of justice. In Bermuda, there was a case, I won't mention the name of the judge. This judge used to sit in the Cayman Islands as a Court of Appeal judge. He's a Jamaican judge. But he was the president of the Court of Appeal in Bermuda. Some unrepresented litigants appeared before him. And they were aware that a certain recording was made. So they wanted that recording to be transcribed so that they could use it for an appeal to the Privy Council. This judge, Court of Appeal judge, president of the Court of Appeal in Bermuda, said the recording doesn't exist. His registrar also said the recording doesn't exist. They signed a joint press statement that it didn't exist. They hired a lawyer who repeated that it didn't exist. But you know what happened? After 7 years, there is a group in Bermuda called the Civil Advocacy Group. They advocate for things like I'm trying to advocate for, against justice. They took the matter to the Information Commissioner, and the Information Commissioner carried out an investigation, and they found out that the recording always existed, and it was even produced. So the judge, a president of the Court of Appeal, was lying all along, including issuing press statements. And this judge used to sit as a Court of Appeal in Bermuda, in the Cayman Islands. And what happened was, then they tried to have him prosecuted for perverting the course of justice. But by that time, he had become old, and because he was a big judge there, and finally he became sick and is now dead. So when we say that we complain about judges, there are these history things that we deal with. And I think in Cayman, what we need, there is need for there to be rules. When you go to the Chief Justice and you say that I'm filing a complaint, there have to be rules, structured investigations, documents prepared, reports made to the public about whether or not a judge has misconducted himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that I'll be successful, but we are already talking right now with a number of people in Cayman. In case I don't win in the Grand Court, a lot of people have said we will try to see if we can put together some money so that we can take the matter to the Privy Council, because we believe that we can drive reform over this issue. There's a lot of people who have misconducted themselves over this issue, and I think they need to be held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So
I appreciate that, and because of what you referenced in the conversation yesterday, I just want, for your benefit and for the listening public, when I referenced that someone had messaged in, and if you don't mind, I do not think it was you. I don't want people to infer it was you.
Okay.
The message, you can confirm if it was or it wasn't. I wanted my memories jogged at His Excellency to say, I think I know who perhaps messaged that. I didn't draw inferences, but to the best of my knowledge, it wasn't a message from you to me yesterday about this issue.
No, it wasn't a message from me, no, but I was very gratified to know that, this is yet again one of those people who are equally interested in the matter. No, it wasn't me, certainly.
Yeah.
But of course, the governor did assume that it might be me. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day,
he did not say
that people are concerned. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you called, because I was thinking, I didn't even think who it was. It didn't matter. The message just came in, and I was I'm hoped that in trying to paraphrase and share what was shared, that it seemed like I got it correctly. I didn't get a correction on it from whoever messaged. But again, it's probably like you're saying, people concerned that perception is reality in many cases, and we want to preserve the integrity of our judiciary, so that any little thing that may impugn, or anyway at least cause people to question, is ready, so that we don't have that level of discontentment, at least when it comes to going before it,
Yes, it's very, very important. And the point I will be taking to the Court of Appeal is, you may agree or disagree with me in terms of the substantive case that I had, which was supported by 3 medical experts anyway, but somehow it was still struck out. You may agree or not disagree with me and so on, but don't you think really that there should have been a hearing? A hearing where I call the witnesses and the people come and are cross-examined, just like was envisaged by these people. But what has happened is that with each judge who has heard the matter, each judge has been making findings of fact, saying this didn't happen, this didn't happen. And as a result, I'm reactively correcting mistakes which are made of fact. And the point I keep saying is that what you are supposed to do is hold a hearing. Once that hearing is held, then you have a judge who will summarize the facts and say what he believes, what he doesn't believe, and so on, so that when it comes to the Court of Appeal, if it does come to the Court of Appeal, then the Court of Appeal is dealing with facts which have been at least established by and large. But where you try to deal with it at an appeal level and other judges, the facts are complicated. They go over a period of 5, 6, 7 years. And the judges are just refusing to hear it. That's a problem. Let me give you an example of one of the things I'll be taking to the Court of Appeal, because this is very important for the public also to know. You know very well, Dwayne, that within the same broad subject of appearance of justice, there are issues of prejudice. Okay, like for example, particularly in jury trials, you find if a judge makes a careless comment, or even a juror makes a careless comment, that can be used as a basis to show that the juror or the judge was prejudiced and was not did not have an open mind. And what happened in my case was that when it went to the Court of Appeal the first time, the judge said, I have no jurisdiction to hear this matter, it should go to the Grand Court. Okay? So it went to the Grand Court. But then when he said that let it be heard in the Grand Court, again, let me emphasize it. The governor said it should go to the Grand Court. The judge said it should go to the Grand Court. But before it went to the Grand Court, the judge made 4 pages of comments, saying it has no merit and this and that and so on. So what do you expect when a Court of Appeal judge says that about a case? And then it goes before a lower court judge, which is a Grand Court judge. Do you think the Grand Court judge is likely to disagree with the higher court judge? No. And yet, what this judge who now decided it, this second judge, he said, no, there was no prejudice in this case. He said there was no prejudice because the judge was just making general comments. But isn't that ridiculous? Once he makes general comments, they are prejudicial. For something to be prejudicial, it doesn't have to be, made in a special way. Particularly in this case, the comments he made were actually written down. And they were part of the record before the Grand Court judge. If you were a judge in the Grand Court, and the Court of Appeal judge takes 4 pages to say this is totally ridiculous and so on, it puts pressure on the other person to decide otherwise. Suddenly it is prejudicial and the appearance of justice is removed. And yet somehow this Court of Appeal judge said there's no problem there. So it's very complicated, but I do hope that I'm looking forward to the arguments. It's likely to be heard over one day.
Wow.
And I'm really hoping that a lot of things will come to light. I know a lot of things, Dwayne, which I couldn't say on air because the people who spoke to me on a condition of anonymity. Well, not anonymity, I know who they are in confidence. Yeah. And they also have had a lot of problems regarding this. For example, one of the issues which arises in my issue also had to do, it goes back to Justice Mangatar. Justice Mangatar delayed my judgment for almost 3 years, and during that time she was convicted of drunk driving. And what I've argued is, how can you say she acted reasonably if you hadn't found out whether the drinking was related to the delay in the judgment? Because if it was, then I was denied unjustifiably a right to have the matter determined within a reasonable time, which in Cayman is supposed to be 3 months. I waited for 3 years and 6 months.
Wow.
Anyway, so that's the story.
But justice delayed is justice denied, isn't that what they say?
Justice delayed is justice denied, and I want to create precedent for the benefit of the people in Cayman because this is a very rare kind of application. I know that even the Court of Appeal, and I'll be very candid with you, a friend of mine from Cayman sent me, he circulated a documentary from the UK. And the documentary in the UK has said actually some courts in the overseas territories are very suspect. And I think that the Court of Appeal in the Cayman Islands, my opinion, is very suspect. Why did they allow the West Bay Road to be closed? In my view, it's because they didn't care. As far as they were concerned, these were just some natives who are, quibbling about some little road. But there are people who grew up on those roads, on those beaches. The memories are etched into their being and so on. And then you decide simply that it's going to be closed. And in that case, by the way, let me close on this. You've given me so much time. In that case, when the lawyer brought the case, he also tried to rely on Section 26 of the Constitution, which allows you to bring a human rights claim within 1 year. But the issue they had in that case, the Alice May Cole case, the good lady who I've grown to know and love over the years now, she said that they argued that, look, the period when you count, like when you start counting the 1 year,
all the time,
it should start from the date of gazetting of the decision of closing of the road, because that's when the public knows about it.
Right.
And if the court had counted from that date, they would have been within the 1 year. But you know what the Court of Appeal said? They said, no, we can't count from the date of the gazetting. We have to count from the date of the cabinet decision. And if they counted it that way, then they were out of time.
Yeah.
But how do you start counting before the public knows? That is nonsense, But that's the Court of Appeal we have. But anyway, thanks, Dwayne. I appreciate the time.
Well, keep us posted.
You have a good...
You enjoy the weekend, and thank you too. And right on the nose, we hit the news. Stay tuned.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Let's read the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
A 51-year-old woman of Georgetown has been arrested on suspicion of indecent exposure in relations to acts committed on Wednesday, January 5th, in Georgetown. Officials with the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service confirm the arrest took place at about 11:30 a.m. Thursday on Elgin Avenue in the vicinity of the Government Administration Building. The woman remains in custody as investigations continue. In international news, the British government is tapping into the military to ease staffing shortages across London hospitals caused by a fast-spreading coronavirus outbreak. The UK Ministry of Defence announced Friday it would deploy 200 personnel to hospitals across the capital, where the number of people hospitalised with COVID-19 reached 4,000 this week, more than triple what it was just a month ago. 2 Haitian journalists have been shot and then burned alive on the outskirts of the capital, Port-au-Prince, according to one of their employers. The journalists had traveled to an area where rival gangs are fighting for control. One of their employers said in a statement he was savagely killed while reporting on the area. The statement posted to Facebook suggests one of the gangs was behind the deaths.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
The Ministry of Education invites eligible Caymanians to apply for overseas government scholarships for the 2022-2023 academic year. To apply for an overseas government scholarship or learn more about the various scholarship programs, please visit the recently upgraded scholarship application portal at www.moescholarships.gov.ky. Applications close on Monday, 31st of January, 2022.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. It's a Friday afternoon. Some of us are still getting lunch. Others of us have had it and looking forward to dessert. I wouldn't mind, some of that sea salt and dark chocolate. But hey, it's my fault why I'm not indulging. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. What you do, weigh in and share your thoughts with us. And as we send an opportunity now to look at this WhatsApp, I'll share some other things with you, but let's read it. This was the one had come in yesterday, and we were looking at sharing, and then just never got to it in time to do it justice. This message from this listener talks about the cost of living and says, here's the perspective. Says not, I'll just read it. Says nothing for a shipping company to increase rates 25 to 50% without notice. Countless suppliers have raised prices by 10 to 15% in the last 12 months. We all know the story on gas prices, health insurance, and property prices. Ironically, these are all components of the Caymanian dream that Caymanians can't afford working for $6 an hour. It cannot be that everything else rises in price except wages. It cannot be that inflation constantly erodes the buying power of the people. It cannot be that honest people working every day for government-approved wages can't pay their basic bills for food, clothing, shelter. Something must be done. The corrective action needs to be taken now. Anything else, or to do nothing, would be immoral and a stain on our collective dignity as a society. Appreciate that listener weighing in and sharing that thought, but what is your perspective? Now, there are many who would say, well, wait a minute now, if we put up, wages, then the cost of living is going to further go up, because in order to pay for that increased salary, an increased wage bill, we're going to have to raise prices. And then that's going to put the wage earner in the same position or worse, because now we have an increased price and that more, going to be offset by the increased cost of the goods that came about as a result of that salary increase that pushes the price up of the good to pay for the salary increase. And you see that, consequence now of that vicious cycle. Maybe it's why our parents and the grandparents were wise to say, remember that $1 saved is $1 earned. Understanding too that some would say, listen, the cost of getting the goods to our shores are getting much more expensive. First, the cost to actually physically bring the goods, however that is brought in by plane, by boat, or however. And then secondly, can you even get the goods these days? There's this increase in demand that driving up the prices there, the limited supply of those particular goods. We heard about it for cement, and then the approval by the government to find other suppliers. We've heard it from the merchants who say, listen, we normally get goods from this particular market, but we're sourcing other markets. We've heard suppliers say, listen, I know you're used to this particular product from this particular manufacturer, but we have had to source a complementary or a competing product, and now you have to just take this. It may be the same quality, it may be perceived as not, it may actually not be of the same quality. The price may be cheaper, the price may be the same, and therefore the profit margins are different, or it may be even better, it could be even inferior. The realization is that things have changed. How do we respond? And more importantly, can we be forward thinking, proactive, and recognizing that if this was to happen, is it an issue that could put our livelihoods, our very lifestyle, our lives in peril? When we think of food security, there may be issues of national security. But is it why we should look more closely at our agriculture sector, encouraging the utilization of more lands being devoted to agriculture? Should it be that greater incentives, whether it's through technical assistance as well as financial assistance, to cause more of us to grow what we eat and to eat what we grow in the backyards? It may not be peppers and tomatoes. Maybe we can understand how to grow cassava, pumpkin, sweet potato, callaloo, and the Cayman callaloo, by the way. The thinner, greener stalk that is not as bitter. It's just better. Now, 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261. As we think about it, some of us are so busy, genuinely, honestly, understandably, so busy focusing on what is it that we're focusing on, that we have no or little time to focus on other things, and it's only when it hits us full front that we really appreciate it. But that's a bit late. I share that to ask the question again, as we were speaking to Mr. Hurlston earlier. Should we be rethinking how we are looking at our political landscape? The management of our districts, should there be a level of deploying or redeploying, not just through the evolution of power, our civil service structure, so that we have within our districts more emphasis, not just on the provision of government services. So we move the district post offices and district health centers, the district schools, the district, policing, the district, licensing of vehicles, the provision of services and payment of bills, within the district. We actually move the quote-unquote administration and management and a greater level of autonomy and responsibility for what transpires in that district to this district council or district commissioner's office or give it some proper title. We don't need to go fully like many jurisdictions with relative abilities to raise taxes in the form of a local governance, but we could have the elected parliamentarian in conjunction with somebody, whether it's a board, a council, or some other sort of similar body, overseeing it, and then having the requisite technical assistance and personnel to facilitate the implementation and management, so that we still have the same complement and component of staffing, but they're more, directly related and positioned within the physical district, so that they know exactly what is happening. So your garbage collection, the consideration for roads and the maintenance, and not just the upkeep, but the construction, the notion of potholes in the roads or the provision of street lighting don't always have to fall with the politicians deciding which areas need addressing. It is the district who use and benefit or suffer from the services or lack thereof being able to make a direct input to a relevant entity that should know, because it's their direct responsibility to be the eyes and ears and the management for that. Then the politician working in tandem, being able to facilitate the voting of funds and allocation of resources as necessary, as opposed to the politics sometimes that we see may transpire, as alleged, for instance, with street lighting and roads that may have existed in the past, may not necessarily be something of recent, where it was alleged, well, these roads got paved because those are good people who are supporting the present government, or it's going to be delayed or not actually done at all because they weren't really proponents. I mean, have you driven through certain areas and find that there are 100 feet of nice black asphalt on a road that has 50 feet high of new black asphalt every time the black asphalt is put down, but over here, hadn't seen any maintenance? Well, we wonder if that happens in other jurisdictions. Could it possibly happen here? Probably not. We're probably above that, right? 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. So, in looking at moving forward, do we consider those things? Not because we're malicious, not because we don't necessarily like that particular politician, or because we even have particular personal ambitions, but because we're visionary, or we have that level of foresight and industry that our people once said we were revered for. So would that make sense? If it does, would it also make sense to consider the expectations that we have on the elected government? Take, for instance, those who serve as the ministers in cabinet. They are first elected, like, perhaps similar to what is in the UK and other places. They follow the Westminster model from their particular political constituency, and then elevated to cabinet, and now have to serve two masters. National interests should be a priority, but if they don't win and retain their seats in those respective political constituencies, they won't be able to really do anything nationally or, parochially. So do we now need to reconsider those things? Some of you say, well, yes, but how do we do it? Some of you said no, because it doesn't, work. Well, how do we know? Have we had a chance to think about it to see how it works? Are there other things? Are we saying, well, there are not enough people elected? Are we saying there are too many? Again, where is that meaningful, constructive discussion to understand it? And there are many of us who have all the answers, because we've never had any of the experience. We never had first-hand knowledge, insight, and exposure to what actually happens when you're elected, when you serve in government in a particular capacity, whether appointed to a board, whether, an entrenched member of the civil service, or whether you are elected to parliament. Again, including more of us in it, and perhaps starting with the district council. He who, feels it knows it. Well, if you live in a district and every time you drive it home at night and you hit the pothole, for instance, you're probably going to be either A, concerned to get it addressed, or become so numb to it that you just accept it. hopefully that's not the case. But if you never, have to face that thing, there's no name to the face of the person, so you may not have the level of empathy. You may not have the same level of resolve to have it addressed because, well, it really doesn't affect you. You go in the opposite direction. Huh? You live where you live. All right. But before we hit the next callers, we've got a final break to take, so stay tuned.
At Subway, we caramel a lot about our customers, so we decided to give you 2 treats in one with the new Caramel Apple Cookie. Enjoy cinnamon apples, caramel bits, and salted caramel crunch baked in, and topped with a drizzle of caramel-flavored icing. Gooey, crunchy, and yummy. Complete your Subway sandwich, pizza, or salad with the delicious Caramel Apple Cookie or any other cookie flavor and dessert, available for a limited time at all Subway locations. Subway. Eat fresh.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands. The ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom. The land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for sharing us as we close out today's program. And on this Friday afternoon, let's take this next caller. Welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sterling Dwayne. How are you doing today?
Excellent, excellent. Very blessed. How about you?
Same here.
Thank God, man. Glad to hear.
Today's the 7th of January, so it's 1 week gone for us in the new year.
Yeah, and mark my words, right? It's going to be very short order when you and others are going to say to me, do you realize it's December 31st, it's New Year's Eve, and it's 2022?
Well, that was just yesterday, so
yeah.
Tomorrow now going to be 2022 December.
That's exactly what we're saying. It's going to be short order before we be celebrating this year's New Year's Eve. You imagine that?
You imagine?
Mm-hmm. So let's make the most of it in the best possible way for all of us, right?
That's correct. We got to enjoy what we got today, not tomorrow. But tomorrow never promised any man.
That's why today is the gift. It's the present. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. So well, before you ask any questions, talk to me. Let me hear you.
I don't want to you would say castigate anybody, but
somehow I feel I know where you're going. Go right ahead.
when it comes to the to the marijuana and stuff, I can't jump on that bandwagon at all.
Yeah, man. Well, okay. I think I can share your perspective. I think I hear what you're saying, but I keep wondering, and this is where I believe it allows us sometimes to maybe take a step back and not just color outside the lines, but think about things in a way that may cause us to step out of our comfort zone, right? So, like you, I have not put a lot of interest and emphasis in it. I've been busy with other things, understandable. So, but increasingly, and I share this on the premise that just, you and I are having a chat, but others may have the opportunity to listen. Ask yourselves a question. So I'm asking myself, we have an issue that spoke to, maybe it started or it culminated in the introduction and passage of the Misuse of Drugs Law in 1986, and there's other supporting legislation that said refusal of a urine specimen immediately was an offense and landed many a young Caymanian male in prison. That had the untold consequence, for some, it should have been obvious, of limiting their ability to get employment, travel, education, and the like. Whether that was a deliberate act, whether it was unintentional, whether it was lack of vision, the cost and consequence is almost unbearable. We've now tried to address that somewhat by having legislation that can expunge that. But those lives have been ruined for, almost 40 years since, right? We look at today's actions, and we've seen, because perhaps they're called by some international that, smoking a joint, rolling a spliff, whatever derogatory term we apply to it is okay. Maybe because these people now want to do it openly and publicly, maybe it's a final acknowledgement that it's not as bad as this, that. In fact, there's medical benefits to it. But are we rushing to get somewhere with a full understanding what happens if we do? Or are we still blind, dragging our feet without understanding that if we continue on the path, we're going to cause the same thing that happened 4 decades ago, still will continue on? So do we look at the quality control and the medical benefits by developing it better, or do we stay in neutral and rev engines and go away, just make noise?
Well, I think it's more like revving engines and going nowhere. But I have seen many young people that have, you would say, been affected permanently by the damage of the said drug.
Right.
So,
can I ask? Well, go ahead. But I want to ask one. And certainly we don't want to talk about anyone specifically or even allude to them. But when you say damaged, is it neurological damage? Is it that they? In what way?
Neurology, or however you want to understand that one.
Okay.
But I have had family members.
Okay.
That have been permanently damaged because of it.
Okay. And without question, this is from the consumption, use, abuse of that particular drug. Okay.
Yes.
Do we know, because I've heard allegations, so I'm going to ask you, do we know whether when that drug was being used, the cannabis, the ganja, the marijuana, whatever it is called, was it just that drug, or was that drug in combination with another drug, either knowingly or that smoking of it being laced with something else?
No, it was that drug.
And nothing else, no other drugs being used knowingly, or that drug being, I don't know, laced is the right word, cut or combined with it. The reason why I ask, I've heard many allege that this person, got I'll use the word spliff, if that's not the right word, people let me know. They're smoking it, and in smoking it, somebody put something in it. And then that's the thing that set them off, just using a colloquial expression. So it wasn't the actual plant, however it's consumed, that caused it. It's the plant now mixed with something else, intentionally or unintentionally, that caused the person now to be so negatively affected.
Yeah, I've heard about those instances too. But the fact is, you can tell the difference usually when someone is, you would say, damaged just on the account of using the said drug, and whether it is laced with something else.
How so? Because I really don't. I mean, I like I said, I don't want to clean like I am some innocent person, but I really don't know. So how can you tell the difference? I mean, how do you know that they did this way because they're smoking it only, but did this way because, and maybe that's not how they consume it, but they're this way now because they're smoking it and it's mixed with something else, whatever that else is. How do we know the difference?
Usually, if they take it, let's say tonight, just by itself, you may not have a damage. You may be taking it for a year, maybe taking it for 2. But when it is laced, the effect is usually immediately, and it is so devastating sometimes that you don't know whether the individual is.
Okay. I can relate to that. The reason why I'm asking that is that, again, just from discussions and even some public utterances here, as well as in other jurisdictions from medical professionals, as well as lawyers and I guess whatever those other people would be called, but similar respectable professionals, right, with some experience and expertise, who have shared that. Look at quality control. For instance, we know publicly that it's been reported that we're finding it coming in being preserved or combined with formaldehyde. Now, I know formaldehyde, presumably that's the thing they use to embalm, fish if you're mounting it, and sadly, or when we're preparing our beloved, to lay them to rest, right?
Right.
We do understand from people in the public presentations relative to understanding the harmful effects of drugs, that if you combine it with this, this could be what happens. When that is an issue, maybe we need to look seriously at curtailing it if we grow it and license it, as opposed to regulate the importation and punish for that. We understand from physicians that, I guess, the oils and however else they prescribe it, that they can give certain bits and pieces and parts of it in certain ways to bring about positive benefits to patients for different reasons. Again, if we can control the supply and manufacturing production, could we make it not just more affordable but more accessible, and again not have to worry about market forces and availability? If an oil can help a cancer patient with appetite or pain, or if it can be used to treat something else, do we not look at it from that perspective and make sure that it's available?
So doing to answer that, is you would say not even a 1-4 question.
No, it's not. I mean,
when you take everything into play, you have those that would say, well, if we approve for the cultivation of it here, that means that I can smoke it as well.
Okay, so are we saying then that let's take alcohol, which is legally available if you're of a certain age, and hopefully if you sell it because you're licensed, then it's legally to do so. Doesn't mean that people don't drink it on the age, or don't drink it inappropriately and excessively, or don't sell it as well. But are we saying that a person who owns a liquor selling establishment necessarily consumes it, drinks it? I mean, I would think probably not in every instance, right? Just like the person who owns, an ice cream shop, maybe say, boy, I used to eat it, but I don't want to see it anymore. Maybe they enjoy it. I don't know. So
let me answer that one now with a joke. Have you ever seen a small chef?
Chef Emerald, I think he said, "What, never trust a skinny chef." But again, you look at those instances, and you would think, well, someone would own a bake shop. You would say, "Well, I'll eat out all the profits." I'm just wondering, though, to what extent we shouldn't reconsider it. And in asking about drugs, what about the drug of alcohol?
Well, if you had my opinion on that one, that would be number one to be recalled, because not only does that damage your brain cells, but it has damaged so many lives in account of accidents that people have lost, innocent people have lost their lives on account of it. And when you go to court, people get up and say, "Oh, well, you know that they were drunk and they didn't know what they were doing, and this and that and the other."
Right. But
so they're trying to look then for an excuse. You said to say, well, it's okay.
So should we then, when we're looking at drugs, and this is where I know some people probably feel corrected, some people probably feel chastised when I say, well, don't say drugs and alcohol. Say drugs and include alcohol.
Exactly.
Right?
That includes alcohol.
Right. Should we then, as we understand from our biologists and our medical professionals, that the brain and the liver and different parts of our bodies that doesn't fully get to where it should be until 23, 25 and beyond, So maybe the age at which you can legally, not just sensibly, but legally consume alcohol shouldn't be 18, it shouldn't be 21, it should be a little bit higher. Now,
it should be like 100.
Well, perhaps for some, but then again, is it more about education, whether you're 30 or you're 60? Do you look about moderation? Whether you're 18 or you wait till you're 25, that you're educated to understand that you limit your consumption because you're being sensible financially as well as from the health perspective, but you also maybe not just moderate how much, maybe you limit or you avoid until you are a certain age to give the body a chance to properly develop. We see this age to smoke, another drug, tobacco, the cigarette and the like, not 18 but 21, like it is to use the other drug, alcohol. But here it's, you can do that much earlier. Again, is that something that the society should now take the opportune time as we talk about legalizing ganja, marijuana, cannabis, that we also look at tobacco, alcohol, and whatever other drug that is available, out there now?
Well, Sterling, when it comes to use any of those drugs, you look at what the good book says. It says wine is a mock, strong drink is raging, and whosoever is deceived thereby is not wise. I didn't say.
Right. But doesn't it also talk about a little wine being good for the stomach or something like that? I mean, there's a scripture that talks about a little drink as well.
What kind of wine was it, fermented or unfermented?
I wasn't there, my friend, boy, and I'll be honest with you. If I understand the scripture correctly, you see the best for last, right?
Yeah, but I'm not saying it was fermented wine.
Well, how do we know it wasn't?
And how do we know that it was?
I know, but this is there
are ways of finding out things that scientists have already proven that was the case, that it was not fermented wine.
How so? I mean, because those scientists that find out weren't there, and they not did no DNA test either, right? They didn't get the grapes or whatever the water was. So how do they know for sure? Isn't it all conjecture and inference?
No, Sterling. During the Bible also tell you that no strong drink will pass the mouth of Christ. So if you think now that he is going to make something that he himself not going to drink,
this is where I would welcome that education and discussion. I think where so many of us are a great disservice to ourselves and to society in attempting that ministry is the way we have crafted the interpretation and worse, the application of religious doctrine to the point where, we become so caught up in the religion that we forget the relationship, right? And I say that thinking back to, you probably like me watch The Passion of the Christ, right? And in watching that, there's a scene, for some reason, it's just within me, it may not be the same with anybody else, where I cast my mind back to the scriptures as I watch that. And because we believe that Christ died for every sin for us, we don't have to endure it because he endured it, right? You imagine what must have transpired. So whatever horrible thing, whatever law that we have now, that's probably based on the Judeo-Christian perspective, Christ must have been subjected to that so that he can have that level of empathy and direct understanding. I mean, have you ever thought about that?
Yes, and the answer that I will give on that, remember, it says he was tempted in all manner.
Right.
But he sinned not.
Right. But also too, I mean, to have that, I guess, empathy. Him, again, like I said, it's just something that I always thought of when I watched it. It struck me in a way that he, as the human form, must have experienced a lot of what the human has been subjected to. It's just me. I'm thinking. I mean, like I said, that's just one thing that.
Well, it says he was subjected to everything, but he sinned not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So remember now, he is Lord, owner of, you said, the whole universe and whatever else beyond.
Right.
And what did the devil do to him? Take him on top of a mountain and say, "Look at all of this beauty here. I will give it to you. It's already his."
Yeah. But
fall down and worship me.
Yeah, but that's, for me, that is interesting. I can look at that and almost see the strength of character, and to see, despite him after 40 days of fasting being in the human form, being physically weak. Right. We look at our fathers, for instance. I mean, my own father, the flesh and the human form, right? Probably the strongest man, bar none. Hair in Cayman, hair everywhere, right? And I see that because people like Mr. Wenzel, Mr. McLaren tells me stories that I thought were just fanciful stories. But when you see your contemporaries speak of you in a way, you kind of believe, well, wow, it must be true, right? So they have made me even more, I don't know how you say, man, just honored to know that this is
who he was.
This is the man my father is, right?
Right.
And to see that physical strength, right? And I watched him. I've seen him do things, and this is just a physical man. This is not spirit man, right? And then you look at our Heavenly Father, realizing the strength that there is in that person. So when I think of that and I make that comparison, I'm convinced increasingly that level of strength that we have, right, it can draw from him, and it probably has a lot to do with the fact that he has had so much other things transpiring, that in the human form he probably has experienced more than we have probably probably allowed ourselves to have that discussion.
Anyway, I looked at the time.
Yeah, me too.
So,
yeah. All right.
Anyway, it was very, very good chat today, and
thank you always, man. And I hope I was respectful to you, and certainly, to others, so that we learning together. All right.
Bye here.
All right, man. You have a very blessed, safe, productive, and enjoyable weekend. And to our listeners, to one of our listeners chimes in and says, I guess what I'm referring to is a seasoned spliff. Maybe you guys know what that means, but again, I'm not saying anything that would in any shape, form, or fashion trying to create anything other than for us to have that respect and that sensible dialogue about where we are, so that whatever decisions we're expecting our parliamentarians to make, that it includes us as a people in a perspective that is as not only inclusive but as informed as possible. All right, 949-8037 is our number. We have on Monday Mr. Art Connor again in the studio, bringing an insight and intellect and a very invigorating intellectual discourse. So we invite you to share with him on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and of course on Tuesdays and Thursdays, our Business Buzz. Now, God's willing, I'll come back to you on Monday for more talk today right after the midday news and midday meditation. Thanks again to the wonderful team and to DJ Lynn for letting the discussion unfold for a few minutes into extra innings. I've asked him, to cue up some songs by Mr. Dalmy. I don't know whether DJ Lynn will let us hear his voice before he goes out, but the song he's going to play for us is by Didi. And Cayman is the pearl of the Caribbean. And Didi was an amazing man. So here's a song. Listen to it and be blessed.
If you're looking at paradise, place to have some fun. Everything happens an island under the sun. Can spend your lifetime a looking if you do not see island of Grand Cayman, pearl of the West Indies. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh. Uh-huh. Oh, 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 oh. If you visit this island, always want to return. No matter where you come from, be the island in the sun. Life is so happy, everything is so free. Come to the Isles of Grand Cayman, pearl of the West Indies. Oh, oh, oh. Uh-huh. Da. Do, do, da. Da, da, dee, da.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown,